Mike Birbiglia tweeted 4 years of people on Twitter telling him, "You lost a fan, bro. Worth it. I'll win you back, brothers." Steve Martin said, "Grammar is back." John Cleese said, "They may be bad losers, but always remember they were horrible winners." Mark Norman said the election was closer than Trump and his daughter. Conan O'Brien said, "Wait, so the 83 people who still own a landline in the U.S. didn't properly represent all of America in the polls?" Jim Gaffigan is going to be part of the DC canon. This from the Laugh Button. Jim Gaffigan will be voicing the character of Thunderbolt for the upcoming second season of Stargirl. Thunderbolt is described by Entertainment Weekly as being, quote, magical, electrical, fun-loving, wish-granting pink imp from the mysterious land of Bahdnesia. Jim Gaffigan will voice that. Okay. Thunderbolt grants wishes, and the creator of the show says the wishes he grants often cause more trouble than the wish asker would ever expect. But despite his somewhat constant supernatural disasters, the Thunderbolt's heart is always in the right place, even if it is wounded by the friends he's lost throughout his long existence. Stargirl returns to the CW in 2021. I will keep you posted. Letterman spoke to Vulture, and they said, "Hey, let's talk about the new season of the Netflix show. You did stand-up when you went to interview Dave Chappelle in Ohio. Was it odd going back and flexing those muscles again, if only for a few minutes?" Letterman said, "I was intimidated because he had to sit through 4 or 5 comedians before him, and Chappelle was the MC. If Dave Chappelle is the MC, you're reluctant to get out of the car, but it just built. Dave was funny, and the first act was funny, and the second act was funnier, and then Dave was funnier, and on and on and on. I kept thinking, why am I here? It was just an open field surrounded by woods, and I thought, I really should disappear into the woods here now. The next thing you know, Dave Chappelle's introducing me. I go out there, and he handled it remarkably well, superbly as a matter of fact. He made the audience there feel like I belonged on stage with him. He was so generous and so supportive that my little 2 or 3 minutes was just fine. But I'm telling you, if I had to go up there without Chappelle, it would have been a struggle. But he was a big, big help, and not everybody in show business is that eager to help another performer. And I use performer with regard to me loosely. When it was a great night, it was one of the coolest things I got to do in a long time, and especially right in the middle of the horror of the pandemic running crazy around the world. It was a nice respite, but all credit to Dave Chappelle. He really is a master. Speaking of Dave Chappelle, did you catch yesterday's Daily Comedy News? I did the SNL recap on Sunday morning. I know I had said I was going to do an episode about It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but I got up and I'm like, I should react to this Joe Biden thing. It seems like a big deal. So I did an episode on the fly about Biden and recapped SNL. Now today, can you hear my cold? As I'm recording, I feel the cold coming on. So if you hear me talking about It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia tomorrow, that's what happened. If you hear like 4 generic episodes in a row, send me a card at the hospital. No, I think I'm fine. I think it's just a head cold. So Vulture said at the end of your episode with Chappelle, he talks a lot about how much you inspired him. By the episode with Chappelle, we're talking about the Netflix Letterman thing. We had Dave Chappelle as a guest. You should watch it. It's pretty good. A lot of modern comedy figures talk about how much an inspiration you were to them. You yourself are one of the most famous fans of Johnny Carson, and for years would talk about how important he was. You occupy that Carson space for a different generation. Are you okay with that sort of veneration? Letterman said, "I used to hate it because it made me self-conscious. I believed in my heart I was not worthy of it, because when you're doing a TV show, that's all you're looking at. You're looking at the TV show and the audience and the material and the guests, and that's all. Now that I've essentially passed away, to see it and hear, when you hear something like this from Dave Chappelle, you can't take it lightly because he's a wise fellow, and it was highly meaningful. To me, it also kind of reset my focus on what I hear from others like Jimmy Kimmel, who I consider a friend now, and men and women who have said essentially the same thing. And I feel, I don't know, I'm starting to kind of feel that maybe that was the most pleasing aspect of my career." Maz Jobrani talked about how his life changed this year. He said, "I was this touring comedian traveling the world, and now I'm Mr. Mom, I'm tech support, I'm the handyman, I wash the dishes, I walk the dog." You know, when that first lockdown happened months ago, it was like, I feel like everybody in LA was like, we can handle this, we got this. And then it became Groundhog Day. We really haven't learned how to monetize comedy yet. Zoom shows are actually fun, but it's not close at all to the career of when you're used to touring and doing theaters. All that just ended. I would definitely say that I'm lucky because I was able to have money set aside for that type of thing. As for how Zoom comedy shows work, he said, you know, if you like unmute like 10 of the viewers, you can hear some laughter, but there have been times where people are unmuted and they don't know the decorum. They'll be like, oh, that's a good joke, I really like that. And then someone will come on the chat and say, can you tell them just shut up? It's been pretty fun and funny and all. The more recent ones, I've tried to turn into a talk show. I could see wanting to have people unmuted. I teach a college class on Monday nights, and I always ask my students, leave all your mics on, even if there's like room noise or your dog is barking. Otherwise, I'm just like talking into the silence, and I can't stand it. So I can't imagine trying to do stand-up comedy with anybody coming back. Now, sure, you don't want people going, oh, that's a good joke. I really like that. You'd like to hear laughs, but I could see wanting to have the mics on. Hey, Maz, why not do a straight stand-up set? And Maz said, with comedy, people want new material all the time, so I realized I can't do stand-up comedy shows if the same people keep tuning in. My material's not new, so I started doing a talk show. I called it Maz in the House. It is a monologue. We have a guest, and we cover the news. We charge like $10. It's really a way to get people on a Friday or Saturday night in front of the computer, grab a glass of wine, and we have fun with them. Now that the election's over, Maz plans to do some shows in Arizona, and he says he's a little bit worried about it. You start to see the numbers rising again. I don't want a headline that says, Maz Jobrani, Super Spreader Show. Norm Crosby, a Borscht Belt comedian known for his frequent malapropisms, died Saturday in Los Angeles. He was 93. This from Variety. I know the name, but Norm is a little before my time, so I'll crib off Variety here. They say his specialty was malaprops, words that sound correct but are completely wrong. Examples being he might describe a Major League ball club struggling with controversy as riddled with distinction. When he goes to a tailor, it's because his pants needed an altercation. When people can't read or write, you get a problem with illegitimacy. He was a frequent guest on The Ed Sullivan Show. He was on Gary Shandling's show and Late Night with Conan O'Brien. He was a guest star on Roseanne, The Love Boat, L.A. Law, and The Larry Sanders Show. Most recently, he worked with Adam Sandler, appearing in Grown Ups 2 as a Kmart employee, and he also did a voice in the Hanukkah movie 8 Crazy Nights. Louis Black spoke to the Interrobang, and he says, here's what I do. I turn the TV on and try to figure out, do we have oatmeal, yogurt, and granola? Do we have egg salad? Do we just go crazy? Then it's really emails. What I do, I get 150 emails a day asking me for money for a variety of campaigns, and I just have to sit there, and I used to read them. I don't even do that anymore. Just getting rid of them is a task. Then it's a fog. It's a slight fog. Somebody the other day said, did I feel like weeks and months were shorter, but days are longer? And he said, no, but actually how I get through this, it's 2 glasses of wine, 2 to 3 glasses of wine a day, which my therapist says is better than Xanax. So it's 2 to 3 glasses of wine after dinner. That's how I manage. The fact that I haven't become an alcoholic is really, that's my level of pride. Some pre-pandemic advice to their younger selves from some comedians via Vulture. Kyle Kinane said, I'd tell myself to purchase more loungewear, as that will be the celebrated and functional choice for months to come. I'm laughing because I'm sitting here in sweatpants. Plus, nobody wants to fight the militias in something restrictive. As for comedy, I don't know. I'd say maybe it's okay not to force creativity when you don't have it. That's not a rock you can keep hammering to crack it. It's okay to step back from it and let the engine cool off for a while. My joke notes were starting to read like a prisoner's diary. Andy Kindler said, my advice would have been to stock up on N95 masks. I could sell them at an inflated price later. Now, I mean, I could give them to all my friends at a slightly inflated price. I'm not in the friendship business. Career-wise, I should have retired before the pandemic and moved to a Gilligan-style island. Who am I kidding? Not enough people, I've been told. What am I sticking around for? I come back in my 70s. I started in the 70s, so that would be appropriate. Good riddance, suckers. Hassan Minhaj says, listen, I know you don't like doing late spots, but do late spots. You're going to miss doing stand-up. Also, it's totally cool not to see the kids for a while. I'm serious. Neglect them. You'll thank me later. And Weird Al said he would stock up on toilet paper and Clorox wipes. No time to explain. Just trust me. I have some recommendations for you. Check out a podcast. It is called Laugh Out Loud by CBC Radio. Laugh Out Loud by CBC Radio. They play sets from artists that are probably off your radar. Canadian artists, coincidentally, by the CBC. Laugh Out Loud by CBC Radio. Check out the episode with John Buehner's set. I thought that was really strong. And why don't you jump on YouTube and look up a guy named Charles Haycock. I was unfamiliar with Charles until I listened to Laugh Out Loud by CBC Radio. And Charles Haycock, I'm hearing a lot of Mitch Hedberg in there, like a lot. I think Charles Haycock is funny, but I'm hearing a lot of Mitch Hedberg. I think I actually posted a couple clips on the at DCN Pod Twitter handle, at DCN Pod, if you want to check that out. Also, you guys didn't tell me, Netflix added Chappelle's Show. That's what I did all weekend. I was just shotgunning episodes of Chappelle's Show. These seem to be edited. They're missing something. I don't know what. Maybe he used to have music artists on. I don't remember. But the episodes seem to be like 18 minutes long now. Like as soon as you sit down, it's over. But they're really funny. Like Dave brought no prisoners. Those are great episodes. So Chappelle's Show and Laugh Out Loud by CBC Radio are my recommendations for you. All right, tomorrow's episode, I think I will wait and put it out over breakfast. I want to see how the late night shows react tonight to President-elect Biden. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, follow on Spotify, and I'll see you tomorrow.